As for the MSME, there is actually a reported 445 billion pesos loans by Q4 or the fourth quarter of 2024. While for agriculture, as you can see, there is a recorded 308 billion pesos loans. For microfinance, there is 367 billion pesos loans. And for microinsurance, there is 14 billion pesos premiums. So pesos is our currency. Next slide. As for the rise of fintech and digital banking, the Philippines has once again surpassed its 2024 target of 52 to 54% for digital payments as set under the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. Click. Yeah, next. Click again. According to the 2024 e-payments measurement conducted by the Central Bank of the Philippines, digital retail payments accounted for 57.4% of the total transaction volume. So this marks a significant year-on-year increase of 4.6 percentage points, highlighting the continued momentum in the country's shift toward electronic payment channels. So maybe you would actually think, what is the current status of India in terms of adapting with these new technologies in terms of financial inclusion? All right. So this marks again significant year-on-year increase. Next slide. Additionally, payments made by the government or G2X have consistently remained the most cash-light among the three primary payment use cases, with 97.2% of the transaction conducted digitally as of 2024. By the way, this report is actually from the Central Bank of the Philippines, so they distribute it to the financial institutions in the Philippines. So that is the source of the data here. So this is accurate actually. One click. All right. Meanwhile, payments made by persons or P2X have made a remarkable leap toward digitalization, with 72.2% of total transactions processed through digital channels. The increase is accompanied by a decrease in the volume of non-digital payments, which could indicate a shifting preference to pay digitally, and that is a good indicator for us. Next slide. Next slide. So the total value of monthly digital payments has reached 136 million US dollars. Imagine, accounting for 59% of the nation's overall retail transaction value. And this development underscores a significant shift toward digital financial systems, reflecting increased public trust and reliance on digital payment infrastructure as our country advances toward a more digitally integrated economy. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the data. Next slide. So as a matter of fact, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated shift to cashless transactions, and I believe that is the same with India. E-wallet transactions surged as Filipinos adopted QR code payments and online shopping. BSP, or the Central Bank of the Philippines, in initiatives such as QRPH, QR code, and InstaPay or PesoNet promote interoperability and real-time digital payments. So InstaPay and PesoNet, these are online bank transfer mechanisms. So this transformation enhances transaction speed, transparency, and security, reducing dependence on cash handling and related risks. Next. So three key payment use cases: merchant payments, person-to-person transfers or P2P, and the business-to-business payments or supplier payments drove the surge in digital transactions. One click again. Collectively accounting for 93.2% of the total volume, or 3 billion digital transactions. So merchant payments led the growth, with a 29.1% increase, reaching 2.2 billion transactions in year 2024 and representing 66.4% of the total. Meanwhile, B2B or business-to-business payments grew by 28.1%, rising from 160 million to 205 million. Digital transactions, and that reflects the impact of the central bank's digitalization initiatives in the business sector. The growing adoption of these contributors is evident through the increasing use of the QR codes for payments and also InstaPay and PesoNet, as I mentioned earlier. So more central bank supervised institutions are also joining QRPH, making it easier for us Filipinos to pay by simply scanning or uploading QR codes at merchants nationwide. So just imagine it's the same with India. A while ago, I bought some medicine in the pharmacy, okay, and then I got this electrolyte drink, okay, for 40 Indian rupee. And then I got 100 rupee, and the pharmacy don't have cash to cash, okay, for change of my 40 rupee medicine. Okay, and then the driver of the hotel, because he accompanied me a while ago, so sir, I'll just pay for it. So he just used his QR code, and simple. Okay, so what I did is I just gave him the 100 rupee and keep the change. Okay, because you helped me. Okay, so imagine that's actually cashless and very smooth transaction. All right. So next. All right. So the recent diagnostic study shows that P2X payments dominate retail transactions at 70.5%, followed by B2X at 28.5% and G2X at just 0.9%. Notably, person-to-business or P2B and business-to-business payments together account for 83.5% of total retail payments, highlighting their strategic importance in driving payment system improvements. One click. Okay. All right. So out of the 5.8 billion retail transactions recorded, person-to-business or P2B payments made up of 57.3%, reflecting the increasing use of digital methods for everyday expenses like merchant purchases, utilities, and loan repayments. Business-to-business payments accounted for 26.1%, indicating a shift among business toward more efficient digital financial operations. Now, next slide. Let us tackle the emerging trends in the Philippine financial landscape. First in the list is the stablecoin. I'm not sure if you have that in India. So it's also known as tokenized asset. So stablecoin is tied to a real-world asset like USD, US dollar, or PHP, and backed by real money in a bank. While a digital token that represents ownership of a real-world asset, so maybe that could be land, gold, company, shares, or art. So those are the real-world asset. And apart from that, Bitcoin, however, is volatile. I'm not sure if it's the same in India. So its prices goes up and down depending on trading. Okay. So in addition, companies like GCash is the most successful and the largest financial technology company in the Philippines. So I worked with GCash around 3 or 4 years from now. Okay. So also. Okay. So in addition to that, again, companies like GCash are pushing responsible AI usage, emphasizing human-in-the-loop models, automating repetitive tasks, but keeping humans involved in decision making. So there's no better way for a responsible automation but to still involve humans. Next slide. So I have mentioned this a while ago. So you can use QRPH, wherever you go, and it's reaching to the smaller community, even on retail market, payment using public commute. There's actually even a joke in the Philippines about beggars. Okay? So whenever they ask for money in the road, most of them, or most of the time, people would say, I have no cash. So these beggars would respond, okay, then just transfer it to me via QRPH. So just imagine. All right? So because you can actually claim the money in retail store with a minimal charge. Okay, if you use QRPH or the QR code to get money. So moreover, most systems used by financial institutions are now capable to be integrated to different systems. Next click. So be it from a third party or even with a new system. So also in the Philippines, Bitcoin is not a legal tender. So meaning you cannot use it to pay debts or taxes. Okay? So this slide next. So this slide shows the comparison of how API or application programming interface works now versus the future. So it is expected that financial institution will implement open banking, allowing flexibility to customers, and will create a more complex yet competitive environment. So in the Philippines, there are a lot of financial institutions. There are also what we call non-banking financial institutions. So they are savings and loans associations dedicated for government employees. Okay, so some of the systems are really not yet integrated. For example, for InstaPay, so I'm not sure if you also have InstaPay here. So they're not yet interconnected with each other. So that's actually one of the gaps in the Philippines. All right, so again, it is expected that financial institutions will implement open banking, allowing flexibility to customers and create a more complex yet competitive environment. Next. So there is a strong effort to get more Filipinos on digital ID systems. So again, these are used for verifying identity in fintech onboarding. Okay, basically this is to resolve the issue of fraud most of the time. Expanding payments capabilities into more informal sector, ensuring even small players like vendors, market stalls, or tricycle, we call it tricycle, and then here you call it tam-tams. So we also have that in the Philippines. And you know what? You can actually pay in some drivers using your QRPH. So they no longer allow or they don't no longer accept cash payments. So they accept QR codes. All right? So these can accept digital payments. So because of fraud, money laundering and identity theft remain big risks. Fintechs and regulators are investing more in real-time fraud detection, AML systems, and better security systems. So there's also an emphasis on making sure fintech innovations are safe, ethical, trustworthy, particularly with AI systems. So in Philippines, unfortunately, fortunately, our law now requires anti-financial, anti-money laundering fraud management systems. So that's already mandatory. So we need to have that, and that is being monitored by the Central Bank of the Philippines. So transaction velocities checks, geolocation tracking, behavioral anomaly detection, and the likes. So those are what the fraud management system monitors. Next. So in Philippines again, GCash is the leading mobile wallet service in the Philippines that allows you to perform various financial transactions like sending money, paying bills with different merchants, buying load for your prepaid mobiles, and shopping online. So it also offers online loans, credit, savings, insurance, and investment. And again, I used to work with GCash. Okay, so almost every Filipino has GCash account now. So actually, it has become a verb in the Philippines. So if we celebrate Christmas or birthdays, okay, someone will say, "Oh, Christian, GCash, send me a GCash." Okay, so that's where we send our gifts. It's monetary, so we use GCash, the online payment. Okay, next. So technological advancements in blockchain, cybersecurity, and AI are strengthening the integrity of our financial system. Blockchains ensures secure, tamper-proof transactions, and offers potential for decentralized finance. AI-driven fraud detection systems help banks mitigate cyber threats and identity theft. However, this also calls for robust cybersecurity frameworks and digital literacy programs to protect consumers. And that is why we also consider data privacy. So these issue pose significant risk. Okay, so we are supported by law in the Philippines. Before, we don't have the law to regulate. Now we are creating these kinds of law. Okay, so digital divide. That's another challenge. Limited internet access in remote areas prevents full inclusion. Okay, so actually, our client in my current company are Philippine National Police. Okay, so they are being deployed to different locations, especially in rural areas where there are terrorists in the Philippines. Okay, so most of them, if they need money, they can actually not use their phones because in remote locations there are no cell sites, so they cannot use the internet of their phones. There is a cell site, but they can only use it for calls and SMS. Okay, so that's one of the gap in the Philippines. Another thing is regulatory gaps, the need for adaptive policies to address emerging fintech models. Okay? And then consumer protection ensures responsible lending, transparency, and dispute resolution in online transactions. Another challenge is that, click, Bitcoin is not totally accepted yet by many. Okay? And this is true. Bitcoin actually exists and operates legally in the Philippines, but it's not mainstream for everybody to use it for everyday payments and for business transaction. Again, because it is volatile. It goes up and goes down most of the time. Also in the Philippines, Bitcoin is not legal tender, meaning you cannot use it to pay debts. You cannot use it to pay taxes in the Philippines. So I'm sure it's the same with India. You also cannot use that. So its volatility discourages ordinary Filipinos from using it daily and for businesses from accepting it as payment. While the Philippines has a high number of internet and smartphone users, because we are called the center of the social media in the world. Okay? So, however, many still lack financial literacy about crypto. So don't fully trust digital currencies yet, and they prefer cash, GCash, or Maya for digital transactions, and now QRPH. So lastly, actually it is the limited research focusing on fintech innovations. As a matter of fact, I ran through our list today, and I just ran through because I don't have time to really look all the topics, but I don't see, or correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen any related to fintech innovation research. So again, this is a call for us researchers to also advocate financial inclusion. Okay, especially in India also, I believe you have remote locations in which some Indians don't have the access to finances rather. So as a key takeaway, next slide. Financial inclusion can serve as an imperative prerequisite foundation to help people deal with the impact of natural calamities, especially in the Philippines, and to strengthen their resilience by providing access to savings, insurance, credit, e-money, and payments services before disasters occur. The Philippines is at its momentum shifting toward electronic payment channels and with the increased transactions processed through digital channels. The Philippines has once again surpassed its 2024 target of 52 to 54% for the digital payments. While challenges and risk persist, there is an opportunity for continuous research and address the gap to mitigate risks, while adaptive regulation should be crafted accordingly. It has ended. So before I end my keynote speech, let me just share some of the photos. Next slide, please. So this is the IEEE Philippines section. So we have a section, and again, I am the immediate past chair of the IEEE Philippines section. These are our activities with all the volunteers. Next. So these are our activities with the students. So I really am glad to see active IEEE students in Vikrant University. So thank you so much for being active in IEEE. Next slide. So with my volunteering with IEEE and also my mother organization in the Philippines, because I am also a part of the Institute of Electronics Engineers of the Philippines. So I got this several awards. So I got the Outstanding Volunteer Award in 2018 by the IEEE Philippines section. And then in regional level, the Asia Pacific region, I also was awarded as Outstanding Volunteer Award in the industry as a young professional then. And of course, our mother organization, I received the first Leader Award in 2023 by the ISEP National. And lastly, this is for the Philippines-wide. I got a distinction awardee in Professional Association Development category during the 12 PFPA Awards. All right, next. So with that, thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me, this is my contact, my email address, my WhatsApp, my Viber, and of course, you can connect with me via LinkedIn. So thank you so much again, and let's all have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your intellectual, enriching, and deeply insightful keynote address. Your profound perspectives and visionary ideas have added immense value to this conference and inspired all participants toward innovative thinking, collaborative research, and academic excellence.